Hello, today we are going to be looking at adding and subtracting polynomials. I will link a video in the description on the definition of polynomials if you guys want to understand that a little bit better. But in this video today, we are going to be looking at adding and subtracting. So the goal is to obtain the sum of any two polynomials in X. You just need to either add or subtract coefficients of like powers in X. So what this is saying essentially is if you have, and we'll use this example that we have here, if you have apples and oranges, you're going to add together the like items. So you're going to add together the apples, and then you're just going to have the oranges. They can't be added together because they are different. And so that's what we're going to be looking at, and we're going to be using this concept when going over other examples a little bit later on. So again, looking at the example, we have 3 apples plus 3 oranges in one crate, and then in another crate we have another 3 apples. So if you ask yourself if you want to add these together, what are you going to do? Well, you're going to take the 3 apples plus the other 3 apples because they are the exact same. You're going to add those together, and then you only have 3 oranges that are remaining. So the answer is going to be 6 apples plus 3 oranges. Again, we're going to take this concept and use this in a couple of other examples, but if you think of it in terms of apples and oranges, grapes, or different fruits, or just saying, hey, like items get added to other like items, then that's all you need to think about. So let's look at another example. Okay, so looking at our first example, we have 3x to the 6th minus 7x squared plus 36 plus 4x squared minus 8 minus 4x to the 6th. So thinking about our apples and oranges, we're trying to add and subtract like items, right? And so with that, we're going to look at the power, and we're going to see how many of each power that we have, right? So in this case, right, if we say we're going to look at, the power of 6 and how many there are, right? Or we can say this example, an apple, right? We can call these apples. We're going to look at only 2 because that's what we have. So we have 3 apples, and we're going to take 4 apples away, right? So that's the way you can think about this. It's very simple. So right, 3x to the 6, and we have minus 4x to the 6. And so that's negative 1x to the 6. Or that can just be written as x to the 6. So now what we want to do is look for the next item, right? Apple or orange or whatever you want to call it. In this case, we're going to look for a power of 2. And so we see we have a minus 7, and we see we have a plus 4. And that's all we have. And again, what I like to do is actually identify them so there's no way you can get confused. So we have negative 7 plus 4, which is minus 3x squared. Okay. Now what we want to do is look for the remaining thing that we have, which is a 36 and an 8. And so we have a positive 36 and we have a negative 8. So we're going to take 8 away from 36, and we are going to get 28. And that has completed all of our items in the problem. So this is going to be our final answer. And again, you can rewrite this as negative x to the 6 minus 3x squared plus 28. And that is all you have to do to add and subtract. Let's look at another example. All right, looking at our final example, we have x to the 7th plus 2x minus the quantity 2x to the 7th plus 6 plus the quantity 3x squared minus 2x to the 4th. Now this problem looks a lot more complicated than it really is. As long as we use our apple and oranges concept, we should be good to go. The first thing we need to look at are these quantities though, because we just need to ensure that the value out front, so this value out in front, is actually being distributed throughout the entire problem, throughout that entire quantity. And so that is called the distributive property, and essentially what you're doing is a basic multiplication of this value out in front over all items within the quantity, and you're going to do the same for both the plus and the minus. And so I will link a video in the description below on the distributive property to give you more information. However, you typically see it with multiplying polynomials, but the concept is still the same. Essentially, you're taking the number out in front and multiplying it to every single part within that quantity. And so that's what we're going to do as our first step. We're going to see the x to the 7th plus 2x, and then using the distributive property, that negative sign goes to the 2x to the 7th, and that negative sign goes to the 6th. And so that's going to give us a minus 2x to the 7th minus 6. And then we're going to do the same thing with that plus sign, plus 3x squared minus 2x to the 4th. Because again, if you think about it, the plus, right, that plus sign is really a plus 1, and so 1 times 3 and then 1 times 2 is what we did there. So now we look at our apples and oranges concept, right? And so what I said I like to do in the last problem, and what I would recommend you do, is you just identify like terms, right? And so if you identify like terms, then there will be no way you can make a mistake. So we see x to the 7th, there are 2 terms that are similar to that. We see in the next highest power, the x to the 4th. We don't see any more x to the 4th, so we go to the next highest power, which we see here is an x squared. And there's only one of those. And so now we see, looking here, is the 2x, one of those, and then we're remaining with the 6 here. So again, now we're just going to combine like terms. So x to the 7th minus 2x to the 7th, right? So it's 1 minus 2 is a negative 1x to the 7th. And then we go to the next highest power, which is that 2x, because we've completed these. So that negative 2x to the 4th. All right, so we're done with that. Now we see the x squared. All right, and then after that we see the 2x. All right, and lastly we see that 6. And so if you want to, this is the correct answer and your final answer, but of course you can also write it as a negative x to the 7th minus 2x to the 4th plus 3x squared plus 2x minus 6. And there you have it. You just need to think about the concept of adding like terms together, and once you have that concept down, then this should be pretty simple to you. Please like and subscribe, comment if you have any questions below, and we'll see you next time.